I remember trying to, because I was a young wrestling fan at the time of the original XFL. I was gonna give it a shot and try and figure it out. Maybe I figured if football was presented a little bit more like wrestling, I was thinking to myself, hey, I could probably get into this. Then I watched the first couple of games, and I have no real memory of it other than to say like I just didn't enjoy it, and I think it turns out that it's more to do with the fact that it was really crappy football than it had to do with anything else. So Vince McMahon held an online press conference where he kicked it off with a commercial for the XFL revival that stresses that the games are going to be quicker, simpler, and safer with reformed rules. Fewer concussions, but less stoppages in play. I don't understand how that works. There's some talk that there won't be a halftime, which, again, I don't understand how that's going to cut down on concussions, but, whatever. So Vince McMahon, he had formed Alpha Entertainment in order to kickstart the XFL and apparently some other sports and entertainment properties, and it's a company that's completely separate from the WWE. Vince sold a bunch of his shares in the WWE in order to start this new company. So honestly, like, I'm looking forward to seeing this play out. However it does play out, I think that it's going to be ridiculous, and I think for everything that Vince is saying about the XFL revival having nothing to do with politics, I think that that's all that it has to do with. The McMahon family are avowed Republicans. Like, there's no two ways about that. Vince's wife, Linda, is actually in Trump's cabinet. She's the small business secretary or whatever, which if you sort of know what the Trump cabinet kind of looks like, it's that's a very ironic pick, as are all of them. So it is what it is. I'm just looking forward to watching the XFL probably die in another early and very quick death. I think it probably lasts more than one season this time because like it just sort of has to. I don't think that Vince will allow it to not. I guess they're talking about maybe not going with traditional broadcasters for it, maybe broadcasting the games on some sort of streaming platform. I think that the only way that you get people on that is that it's free to use somehow. So I don't know. Maybe like they put it up on YouTube or Facebook to start with ads, and then maybe they can start their own streaming platform if they find an audience. Which, like, I mean, I hope that they do. Honestly, like more places for professional athletes to work is probably a good thing. Even if the football probably won't be fantastic, because I mean the NFL is still the show. It's not like we've got a bunch of people who hate the NFL now who are champing at the bit to go play in Canada. The CFL is still where young stars and or failed NFL properties go to be able to play some level of professional football. So we'll see. I'll keep an eye on it. I'll let you know what I think once it starts in 2020 or once there's more details. Because that's the other thing. Vince didn't really have anything concrete in terms of details. He just pretty much the thing that he kept on repeating was, I'm going to hire some good people for that. We're going to hire some good people in order to figure things out. So we'll see. Moving on to slightly more depressing news. This past week, we had a couple of incidences of abuse in terms of WWE superstars and also in terms of Canadian politics. We're going to start with the WWE, though. First of all, Rich Swann was cleared of all charges stemming from an alleged domestic abuse incident. Basically, a few months back, or I guess it was last month, Rich Swann was charged with an alleged domestic violence incident where he apparently was arrested for battery and false imprisonment of his wife. Basically, the story kind of goes, he was kind of chasing. He and his wife had an argument at this club in Atlanta, and he like grabbed her and like forced her back into the car when she was trying to leave, and just I don't know. It was apparently pretty gruesome, and it's apparently a situation where like both of these people are kind of broken. They both have very difficult backgrounds, and unfortunately, sometimes that manifests in this kind of incident. I do want to read from this tweet from a guy named Darnell Mitchell. So Swan was cleared of charges, and let's talk about this. Swan was seen by several witnesses attacking his significant other. She did not press charges or call the police. Other people did. This does not mean that Swan did not grab her. This does not mean that he was not in the wrong. And it continues. Several reasons how these things like this can happen. More than likely, it's because despite several witnesses, it means that she did probably not want to press charges. Just because you're not convicted doesn't mean that a crime did not occur. Let's be completely clear on that. What I do hope that happens from this is Swan gets the help he needs. Statistically, people from his background grow to be abusive themselves. He did grow up in an abusive background and actually was homeless for a while. Hope he and Sue have a healthy relationship from here on out. And yeah, you know what? That's fair. And like the argument I think that I've seen that's sort of the most telling is that basically his wife, who is also a professional wrestler who goes by Sue Young, did not want to press charges. Basically, that means because of course the state can press charges even though the victim or the alleged victim doesn't necessarily want to. I think the argument that I read that made the most sense to this is that because she didn't want to press charges, she wouldn't testify against him. Therefore, the case was sort of DOA. So hopefully Rich Swann does get the help that he needs because it's a real shame. The guy has a lot of upside in terms of an athlete, and hopefully he can have a lot of upside as a person as well. His lawyer released a statement. Of course, that they're quite happy with the outcome, and that they're hopeful that things can move on. Moving on here as well, Enzo Amore, current WWE, well, not anymore, I guess, but at the time, the current WWE Cruiserweight Champion, was accused and potentially charged with rape, stemming from a November incident. So a lot of folks. So basically, what happened was he was fired more or less because he was being investigated by police and didn't say anything. The Phoenix Police Department confirmed that a report was filed. The incident is still under investigation. Enzo Amore didn't actually say anything to the WWE about the ongoing investigation. That seems to be why he was fired. A lot of people were coming out and saying that this alleged victim was not credible because she complained that she had to go to seek psychiatric care, and then at the same time, tweets were going out promoting her business. She's something of a sex worker. That's another reason, another strike against her in some people's minds. And she doesn't seem to be entirely stable as an individual based on some of her social media posts. Here's what I'm going to say to that. Being a sex worker does not prevent you from being able to be raped. Being somewhat unbalanced and, having stories in your social media about like, oh, here's how I faked the pregnancy. It's a shitty thing to do, but doesn't prevent you from being able to be raped. Honestly, Enzo Amore seems like he was a guy who had the trappings of fame kind of go to his head. There's an old adage in the wrestling business called "you live the gimmick." So if you are a rich guy on TV, doesn't really matter if you're not a rich guy in real life. You need to present yourself in that way. Enzo Amore on TV was some sort of this swagger New Jersey player guy. I think he took that a little bit too much to heart in his real life, which is a real shame. I hope that these allegations aren't true from the perspective of, I hope that I just hope that another rape didn't happen. But honestly, like I can see this happening. I don't find it to be, if you take away all of the, this witness isn't credible, the accuser isn't credible. If you don't consider that for just 2 seconds and you just say, like, can you imagine a situation where a guy like Enzo Amore did this awful thing where he got this girl fucked up and then, basically raped her? And I can see it. I just completely can. So, like, of course, let's have the due diligence and the due process. But I don't know, man. I'm not gonna miss him. I'm not gonna miss him if this is the type of person that Enzo Amore is. All right, quick musical sting because we went into wrestling in the XFL a little bit here, and then we're gonna keep on this train of thought with Jamie Bailey and Patrick Brown. Okay, well, 3 major situations where 3 different political careers seem to come to an end due to assault allegations. First up was Jamie Bailey, the leader of the Progressive Conservative Party here in Nova Scotia. It started with a tweet from Jamie Bailey where he said he was stepping down to deal with a family matter, which, like, I kind of took to mean, when I heard it first, took to mean, somebody in his family is sick. Somebody has cancer. It's a real shame because, you never want to wish that on anybody. And I'm not about to vote for Jamie Bailey or anybody in his party, but he seemed like a reasonable enough guy, and this is a province that pretty much, like, we had an NDP government for a while there, but, like, we kind of go between the Liberals and the Progressive Conservatives, so kind of hope that whoever that they have on their side is reasonable, because eventually that person is probably going to be the premier. And then a few hours later, wasn't even 2 hours later, I saw a tweet from CBC journalist Jean Laroche, who indicated that it was actually sexual-based assault allegations. So reading from his Twitter, sources tell CBC-NS that a female staffer in the Progressive Conservative Nova Scotia caucus office complained about Jamie Bailey last month, and that triggered the investigation. So they did a third-party investigation into the allegations, and Mr. Bailey was asked to tender his resignation effective immediately. So here's what I'll say about this. I can't say that I was overly surprised to hear what had happened in the end, just simply because he was a man with an amount of power. And, that doesn't mean that always it's going to end in rape allegations, but it does increase the chances, as we've been seeing over and over again since the Me Too movement started. What I will say is, and this is going to be a rare one for me, I want to say kudos to the Progressive Conservative Party of Nova Scotia. I think that the fact that they obviously took these allegations quite seriously, to the point where they acted on them in such a quick manner, it took them no time at all to get a third-party investigation going. And then once the third-party investigation finished, they asked him to leave. It was that simple. So they've appointed an interim party leader, Carla McFarlane, MLA for Pictou West, and basically, we're looking at a leadership race for the Progressive Conservatives. Now, here in Nova Scotia, we were still a little ways off from another election, and I think that after the Liberals won another majority mandate here in Nova Scotia, I think that the story went that Jamie Bailey was probably going to step down eventually anyhow. So they always knew that this was going to happen. So in a way, like not the rape allegations or the sexual assault allegations, but like they always knew that they were going to be looking for a new party leader. So I do want to give them the kudos that they deserve for for acting when maybe they didn't necessarily have to. They could have just let